What we do to one side, dividing by 50, we have to do to both sides, so we divide that by 50. 0 divided by 50 is just 0. We're going to take this up over here. Equals 50x squared divided by 50 is x squared. 50x divided by 50, x. 300 divided by 50, 6. It's a trinomial, so we're going to factor it into two parentheses, where the first term will go into the first slot, and the last term will go into, the factors of the last term will go into the second slot. We get x and x, and then we think of the factors of negative 6 that will add up to give us positive 1x, and that is a positive 3 and a negative 2. So our answer is x equals negative 3 or 2. Let's double check in the context of the problem. Would it make sense that their rates are negative 3 meters per second? Of course not. So we can cross off the negative 3 answer. So the answer is 2. The value of x is 2 meters per second. So Matt's rate is 2 meters per second, and Amelia's is just one faster, so that's 3 meters per second for her rate. And that's how you do it. If it was asking about time, we could easily find time by just picking up where we left off and putting it into our time equation, but we don't need to do that. Moving on. If a job can be accomplished, now we're talking about rate of work. So rate of work problems are popular problems in SAT and ACT and stuff like that. You also see that in your first year of college. But anyway, if a job can be accomplished in T units of time, then the rate of work is 1 over T units. Okay? 1 over T units. Now that's where you're multiplying by the units of the job. So I should write job units. Okay, so you're multiplying by the units of the job. So 1 over T. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's put it into a context of a problem and you're going to see. So Victoria and Christopher are working on a neighborhood cleanup. Victoria can clean up all the trash in the area in 5 hours, while Christopher can do the same job in 7 hours. How long will it take them to work together? So the rate. The rate, we've already said, is 1 over T, where T is your time, T units of time. So the T units of time for Victoria is 5. So 1 over 5 is her rate. Okay, so 5 hours, that's her unit of time. And then Christopher, he does it the same job in 7 hours, so 1/7. And that essentially means what? Okay, that means in 5 hours, Victoria could do the entire job of the cleanup. So in 5 hours, in 1 hour, she would do 1/5. So this is the first hour. In the second hour, she would do 1/5. In the third hour, she would do 1/5. In the fourth hour, she would do 1/5. In the fifth hour, she would do 1/5. So that means she would finish in 5 hours. She would do the whole job, which equals 1. Or if you want to convert that to percentage, that's 100% of the job. Okay, so that's why the rate is 1 over 5. And the same thing for Christopher, except instead of 5 times, it would be 7. Now, time working together. Well, they work together for the same amount of time. Do we know how much time that takes? We do not. It's an unknown amount of time. Okay, so the time is unknown how much they work together. But we know they're going to be at least going faster together than they would by themselves. So what's the fractional part of the job done? Well, 1 over 5 times the amount of time she works, which is 1/5 times x, or 1/5 x. Or if you want, just write it x over 5. That's what I would do. So if Victoria is x over 5, that makes Christopher x over 7. Now, how do we write that they work together and complete the job? Well, we already said we were going to add up the fractions of each hour, and whatever we get, it needs to add up to equal 1. But what if we don't know how many hours it takes? That's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to set up a fraction. This is Victoria's contributions for an unknown period of time. This is Christopher's contributions, and we want it to see when they are done. We want it to equal 1. So how do we do this? Well, we just need to get rid of the denominator by multiplying by the least common multiple. So what do 5 and 7 both go into? 35. Or multiply everything by 35. So once we do that, boom, 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 okay, we have 35x over 5 plus 35x over 7 equals 35. We can simplify. We can cancel. So 35 and 5 cancels to be 7x. 35 and 7 cancels to be 5x. And that still equals 35. Here we have 12x equals 35. We solve for the amount of time needed for them to finish by dividing by 12. This is a decimal, so we're going to go ahead and use our calculator and do 35 divided by 12 equals 2.9 hours. And that's how you do that problem.